Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to North End Sports. Today, I'm going to be doing a podcast kind of interview thing with my uncle. We're going to be talking about free agency, who we think won, who we think lost free agency this year, what any interesting moves, and any kind of like thoughts we have on free agency. It's going to be kind of interview / podcast kind of thing. I'm going to be asking the questions, but it's kind of, it's more free than an interview, right? It's not going to be a strict kind of interviews, kind of chilling and stuff. So, yeah. And we'll see you guys in there. All right. Yeah. So free agency so far this year, what kind of feel do you get from free agency? Was it interesting? Was it boring?
It was definitely interesting.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but two definite surprises. It wasn't as much action as I thought there was going to be, but a couple of teams that should have improved didn't, and a couple of teams that you didn't think were going to do much. You were top of the list, so it was definitely one of the more interesting ones that I've seen in recent years.
Yeah. What were the biggest surprises for you?
Team wise or player wise?
Player wise first.
Player wise, there's only two really big surprises. The first one was Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah.
I knew he was going. Everybody knew he was going, except for the Flames fans. They were kind of delusional about the whole thing all year long. But I've been telling them all year that this is their last year. But did not see him going to Columbus. That to me that blew my mind. I thought New Jersey for sure, possibility of Philadelphia, because you're looking at two teams there that are in the midst of a rebuild, especially with New Jersey, and that's where he lives. But Columbus kind of came out of left field, and they don't, other than they got Lonnie out there, but they're a middle of the pack team. They're not even in a rebuild mode. Gaudreau's not going to push them over that hump to get them into the playoffs. So to me, that was a little odd. Completely taken me by surprise.
He was going to go home, wasn't he? Didn't he say he wanted to play closer to home? And he doesn't live anywhere near there, does he?
No, and that's the thing. Like, he said he wanted to play. He wanted to go home. He was born and raised in Philadelphia, I believe, but he lives in New Jersey. He's got a house out there, and that's where he spends the off season. So we thought for sure he was going at least to one of those two spots. And Columbus, to me, I look at a guy like Johnny, and I think that here's a guy who's not necessarily playing for the team. He had a couple of mediocre years, and then I'm always weary of a free agent, has a career year in their contract year and then jump ship. He had a couple of mediocre seasons for a guy with his talent. And then last year, he absolutely dominated the league. Being out in Calgary, I saw him play a lot, and he absolutely dominated all season long, like I've never seen before. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, he jumps ship to a place where hockey is not even a huge deal. I've been in Columbus, and you can go into a sports store, and the only sticks you can buy there are plastic road sticks. Hockey is not a big market there, and I think he's kind of going there. To me, he's going to lay under the radar, and I just don't see him having another big year as he did this year.
Yeah, he kind of painted a picture in my mind of what he is this year, because after the playoffs, you showed me the clip of when McDavid scored the game winner, how he was skating to the bench because he's and you said he's a selfish player, and I took that and I went, he does look like a selfish player. And then in the free agency, once he did that, because everyone was saying, he's going to go home, and all of a sudden he goes there, it made me think, wow, I didn't even expect how selfish he could be. That was crazy. Yep. What was the other big
surprise? Well, that goal, go back to that goal for a second.
Oh,
yeah. The puck is coming up the boards. He's right there with Draisaitl. Draisaitl moves down, and he moves out to leave the zone. And, any other player is going to chase Draisaitl in, or at least cut off that passing lane.
Yeah.
That passing lane was free right up for the most dangerous player in the world. And that's the last guy you want having the puck in that slot. So that's Johnny didn't have a good playoffs. The Calgary Flames fans will sit here and they'll say, he had a great playoffs. He scored the game-winning goal against Dallas. That's all he did. He didn't do anything else.
The team had a horrible series against Edmonton.
Well, they were all horrible. They were horrible all the way around. But a guy like Johnny's got to step up. And you look at Austin Matthews. People say Leafs haven't got past the first round. Blah 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 blah. They played Tampa. Like, get over it. But Austin Matthews, here's a guy who stepped it up this year in the playoffs. In in the regular season in 70 games, Matthews had 67 hits. And in 7 games in the playoffs, I think he had something like 36 or 37. He was a guy who stepped up his game. He wasn't going to let that kind of thing happen. And I don't see that with Gaudreau. So good luck to him in Columbus, but I don't think he's going to be – he's not going to have it anywhere near the season that he had this year.
No, not at all. What was the other big surprise?
The other big surprise was Kadri.
Yeah.
I did not see, I mean, right from July 1st, he was tied to the Islanders.
Yeah.
And the Islanders, they were saying, not the Islanders, but people were saying that they're just waiting for the Islanders to make cap room, which to me made absolutely no sense whatsoever, because a team doesn't need to be cap compliant in the offseason. So they could have very easily signed them and then moved the pieces around the board. I think that team was Calgary. I don't think down there's, I mean, they might have had a little bit of interest, but the reason it surprised me is because 3 years ago, I think when the Leafs traded Kadri, the Leafs had a deal in place to send him to Calgary, and he vetoed it. He didn't want to play here.
Really?
And the deal was in place. I forget who it was for, but it was a better deal than what they got from Colorado. But he said no, he didn't want to play here, so the Leafs took the deal off the table and sent him to Colorado. So in the last few weeks, all the Flames fans here were telling me, Kadri's coming here, Kadri's coming here. No, he's not. He doesn't want to play here. Yeah. And then I'm literally at work 2 days ago, and my buddy shows me the text or the post from Sportsnet saying he just signed. And what? That blew my mind. I mean, there could also be something else there too. Maybe he didn't want to play with Chucky or with Gaudreau. I mean, who knows? Yeah. But we don't know what the story is. But now he's here, and then he had an interview the other day. He said he absolutely loves the city of Calgary. So I don't know.
I was really surprised. I mean, I thought the Islanders were going to get it. I think the Islanders have made no signings so far in the free agency, and
they don't have any room.
Yeah, well, everyone's making fun of him on Instagram now, saying like they have memes where a guy's running through and he has the Islanders logo on him, and it's just people avoiding him because they won't come here. But I was thinking he was gonna. I heard either the Islanders or I heard before the offseason Washington was going to try to make a big move for him.
He would have been a good move for him to go to Washington. I mean, he would have definitely improved that team. He definitely improves Calgary. Calgary becomes an instant contender again after, you got to give Treliving a lot of credit here, because you had two guys like Gaudreau and Tkachuk who said they don't want to play in Calgary. And then for 2 weeks, you had nobody wants to come to Calgary. Nobody wants to play in Calgary. What the hell's wrong with the Calgary Flames organization? And then bam, they signed Huberdeau to 7 or 8 years. And then all of a sudden they signed Kadri, and now they're reputable again. So they're going to be a very deep team this year. I think they're going to be very dangerous. I think they're going to compete with Colorado to win the West. Right down the middle, you've got Kadri, Lindholm, and Backlund. I mean, those are I don't think there's any team in the league who's got 3 centers that can match that.
Yeah, and you got Markstrom, who's a very underrated goaltender. He didn't play great in the playoffs, but he's still a great goaltender. And then you have Weegar now on defense, which is great. Yeah. So you lost Monahan, Tkachuk, and Gaudreau, and you gained Huberdeau, Kadri, and Weegar. I'd say that's pretty great.
But losing Monahan wasn't a big deal. I mean, the guy hasn't played well in the last few years, and he's getting paid $6 million for a guy who can't find the net. And no fault of his. I mean, he's been battling injuries a lot, and I hope he can find his game in Montreal. Well, I hope he doesn't in Montreal, because we don't want that in Toronto. But the Calgary defense is going to be great this year. They got a great top 3 goalie. And Mackenzie Weegar, if they can get him signed, this team is going to be set for the next 5 to 6 years. Yeah. The only thing that's a little concerning about the deals that they gave Huberdeau and Kadri is the fact that both players are over 30 years old.
Yeah, the length, right?
The length of those contracts are a little bit longer than I like personally, but I mean, Kadri, he's going to have 3 or 4 more good years. Huberdeau 4 or 5 more years, and then at the end of their years, I think they're going to be there for more leadership than anything else. So
yeah. We're a little bit worried because I see the same thing. I love John Tavares as much as the next guy, and I defend him. But I have a lot of people at like my work or like people I meet in public who are starting to say that Tavares is off his game. Tavares, that huge contract, he isn't worth it. He needs to go. And I keep telling them that's not true. He's the little thing king. He does the little things that help you win the team. You're not going to notice it if you're not watching it, right? But
people don't understand why
they might be right.
People don't understand what John Tavares is. People look at him as an absolute superstar,
Yeah.
and he's not a superstar. He's a star. He was drafted first overall. His highest point total, I believe, is only 86. He's not that guy who's going to. Same thing happened with Matt Stajan in Toronto. They drafted a guy who they were, this guy's going to light it. No, he's not. Tavares is a complete player. He's a leader. He's going to score anywhere from 30 to 45 goals a year, depending on who he's playing with. But it's what he does on the ice. And like you said, the little things that he does. And people don't see that. And if you're a Leaf fan, you see it. If you hate the Leafs, you don't care.
Yeah.
You're just looking at him. I mean, he's playing second line minutes. He's playing with. He didn't even play with Nylander this year.
Yeah.
You know, he's playing a complete game. There's nothing wrong with John Tavares. John Tavares is doing exactly what they signed him for. Is he getting a little bit too much money? Maybe, but they brought him back for a reason. Is he going to score 47 goals next year? Nope, he's not. But that's not why he's there.
Yeah. So that's why I'm fine with it. And that's why, when people complain about John Tavares, he still has a couple of years left of that money. I tell them, like, relax. And that's why I want to say the same things to people about Huberdeau, because you don't know what kind of player he's going to be in a couple of years. He might completely change his game, like Yzerman, right? Yzerman, his career completely changed his game so he can start winning cups, right?
Yeah, but that was because of Scotty Bowman. Scotty Bowman basically grabbed Yzerman by the throat and said, "What do you want to do? Do you want to win a scoring title or do you want to win a cup?"
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen here in Calgary. I think Huberdeau is a different type of player than Tavares. Huberdeau is going to score 100 points a year. He's playing with Lindholm as well, so he doesn't have to worry as much about the defensive responsibilities, because in Florida, he didn't play with Barkov. Yeah. So he had to also worry about the 200 feet of the ice, whereas he still will this year, just not as much when he's playing with Lindholm.
Okay.
So I think Huberdeau is going to have a good couple of years for sure.
Awesome. Who won free agency? What team do you think won it?
Detroit. By far.
Yeah.
By far, the day to win it this year.
The free agency won it.
So this is what you and I have talked about before in personal conversations about the Toronto Maple Leafs, for example. So the Leafs have lost. I think the rating went out on the offseason, and I think the Leafs had the 28th worst offseason this year.
I think they were last and Florida was last.
Yeah, because they didn't do anything. Florida got a little bit better now with Tkachuk, but again, they lose Huberdeau. And Uyghur, and a first-round pick. But if you look at Steve Yzerman, is an absolute genius. That Tampa team, he built that Tampa team, and now he's in Detroit, and he looked at what his team needed. Yes, they're still in a rebuild. Yes, they're going to get stronger, but they need to win, and they want to win because they're not going to finish in last place this year. Even with Seider coming up, with Raymond, with Dylan Larkin coming up, these guys they're going to push this team to a point where they're going to not finish in the bottom 10 this year, which means they're not going to be in the running for Bedard. Beyond Bedard, there's nothing in this draft coming up next year either. A couple of guys might surprise you, as the season goes on, but there's nothing coming out. So Yzerman looked at it and said, we need to make the playoffs. So what are we going to do? Where do we need the help? And he went out and he addressed every single need that they had. He went out and they got a fantastic goalie. He signed a couple of big hard-nosed defensemen. He picked up a couple of veterans and, a couple of tough guys. Detroit is going to go back to the way they were, 20 years ago.
Who's the goalie that they got?
Ville Husso.
Okay. Yeah, and they got.
I think it was Husso. Yeah, they got Ville Husso. And they got him for nothing. They got him for a third-round pick.
Sometimes these trades, like I'm trying to pull off trades in franchise mode. Obviously, it's not real life, but sometimes I'm giving up the world to get nothing. And then I see real life NHL trades, and I'm seeing decent goalies going for 7th picks, and it blows my mind that you can get some for just like a third. That's awesome.
Well, Husso in St. Louis knew that he probably wasn't going to sign. Yeah. So they had to give. And the thing is that he's a great goalie. He's a great technical goalie. But he hasn't had the opportunity to shine. Whereas Yzerman sees that he's going to be, just like he did with Vasi. They drafted him. I mean, Vasi was a late draft pick.
Yeah.
But Yzerman saw something there, and he sees something in Husso. And for a guy like Steve Yzerman, I mean, Joe Sakic. So when they played together, I didn't play together, but when they played in the same era, Sakic and Yzerman were the top two. I mean, Gretzky and Lemieux, obviously, but Sakic and Yzerman were phenomenal, and they played the exact same type of game. Their stats are similar. They even won the same number. And they both played with honor, and both of them are just as phenomenal GMs as they are players.
Yeah.
And Eichmann, he knows his game inside out.
Yeah. Who do you think absolutely lost? I know that the report came out and they say that Florida lost free agency, but as of now, with a couple weeks after that, or like a week or so after that report came out, who do you think absolutely bombed free agency?
Oh, the Leafs by far.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Florida, the thing is, if people say Florida was ranked 30th, they didn't need to do anything.
Yeah.
They don't need to do anything. They ran into a better team in Tampa. That's all there is to it. Tampa, it's the same thing with the Leafs. Tampa has their experience. They've been through it. They've won back-to-back cups. They outmatched the Leafs. And actually, no, I won't even say that. The Leafs outplayed them. But Tampa found the way to win, and that's something the Leafs need to learn. They did the same thing against Florida. Florida didn't need to do much. They've got a great team up and down. They're tough. They're mean. They're nasty. They got a great goalie. They got Barkov, who's going to win at Selke again this year. Now they went out and got Kachuk, so they get even mean and nastier.
Yeah.
And he's not going to put up 100 points, but he's still going to put up 80 to 90.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't need to do anything. So when people say that they lost free agency, they didn't lose it. They might have ranked 30th as far as moves and everything were made, but they didn't need to do anything. Right. So you didn't need to break anything. And I think they felt that they weren't going to be able to sign back Huberdeau. So I think that was part of the deal. And then they looked at it and they go, okay, well, Calgary's offering this kid who's 24, 25 years old, just finished a bridge deal, had 100 points this year. You know what? We can offer him up for a 30-year-old. So didn't need to do anything. But the Leafs did nothing. They picked up one has-been goalie, a guy who hasn't shown anything yet.
Yeah.
They didn't address any defensive responsibilities. They didn't, they can't really do much with their where they are with their cap. But I mean, they're going to rely on goal scoring again, which is fine, but it's not going to help when they get to the playoffs. So hopefully Dubas can do something at the deadline, but
he always does something at the deadline and it never works out.
No, but again, you can't fault the Leafs this year. They had a great playoff. Their first round was great. A couple of questionable decisions in my eyes that Keefe made, but I mean, I've never played in the NHL. I've never, done anything in the NHL. So I'm absolutely an armchair coach at this point. But a couple of questionable things were made that I think maybe tipped the tides a little bit. But they outplayed Tampa. But they lost by far. They addressed nothing. They had a couple opportunities to go get a goalie. And I feel like they didn't want to trade Willie, but it comes to a point where I don't want to see Willie gone either. I think Willie Nylander, for what we're paying him, he has moments where he disappears on the ice. But Pavel Bure and Alexander McGillen did the same thing in the 90s. But they have that capability to change the game. And that's what Willie can do. And he had a great playoff. He had a fantastic playoff.
That's why I like Willie. It's I think you are the only other person I know besides myself that actually, like, out of the people that I know who like William Nylander. Everyone else I know always complains about him because he's really streaky. And yeah, I get that. But when it comes to the playoffs, the past 2 years in a row, he's been phenomenal both times. I mean, this year he wasn't as phenomenal because the other guys on the first line were actually showing up. But last year, nobody showed up. And to be fair, Tavares didn't get a chance because he was injured. But Willie was the best guy on the team by far.
Yep, and he was this year too. I mean, Matthews was the best guy on the ice, but I mean, Willie playing third line minutes. I mean, he was every time Willie was on the ice, you heard his name.
Yeah,
and that's what you want to hear with your stars, is that every time they're on the ice, you want to hear their name being said, whether they have the puck, whether they did something. So hearing their name is always a good thing. So, but trading him, I mean, they were going to get value.
Yeah.
And they had a couple of opportunities. There's a couple of goalies out there that could have made a trade for Ville Husso, right? And I mean, Detroit got him for nothing, but they didn't even look at that. I mean, I shouldn't say they didn't. I don't know whether they did or not. But I mean, there's so many other opportunities that were out there. They botched the Fleury deal. We don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I'm certain they were probably in on that.
They definitely were.
And I mean, during the draft when he traded Mrazek, I was sure that was, a call that, hey, we're gonna we're not taking Jack and we're gonna go get a proper starting goaltender. But when they got the tandem that they have, I was really confused because I mean, what about Shalgren? I think Shalgren was a decent backup. I mean, he doesn't need to be the starter. He doesn't need to be a tandem. But I mean, in backup, I don't think he's that bad. Why couldn't you, instead of trying to go out and get 2 goalies for that price, keep Shalgren at like a really low price and try to get someone way better than the 2 that we have?
I think what they're banking on is their kid coming out of college, and
Oh, that
which
guy, yeah.
well, I forget his name at the moment, but
Can't remember either.
He's got the capabilities to be the next Ryan Miller, which if he does pan out to be the next Ryan Miller, the Leafs are set for the next 10 years. But he could also very well be the next Jim Carrey. And if you don't know, I'm not talking about the actor. There was a goalie who played for Washington in his rookie year, had 10 shutouts, and then was crap after that. But
thank you for clearing that up. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he was years and years ago. But he has the capability of going either way, and that's the problem with kids coming out of college. You just really never know. Shalgren, I don't see Shalgren.
He's a backup, isn't he? I mean, he was okay.
He was okay.
I'm not looking for something great. I was saying that Shalgren's an okay. When I look for a backup, for me personally, I think I just want them to be okay. The starting goaltenders don't focus on.
Right, but you want a guy that you can have absolute confidence in to sit your starter. And if something happens to your starter, you need a guy that's going to be able to step in and do that. And I don't think he's that guy, especially when it comes to the playoffs. I mean, what if Campbell got hurt?
Yeah.
Right. Now, mind you, I don't think Campbell's the guy either. And I think Edmonton's going to have a little bit of a surprise, thinking that they're getting an upgrade from Mike Smith. But
well, you know what they say about Leaf goaltenders who leave. As soon as
every player who leaves the Leafs wins a cup.
Yeah.
Bozak, Kessel, Kadri, they all left and won a cup.
Anderson has even had an incredible season this year.
Yeah, I mean, Anderson, that's a lot of team play too. Carolina's a great defensive team.
Yeah, I kept on telling people when we got Mrazek, I said, look at Nedeljkovic and Mrazek, and look at, now Anderson. I said Carolina makes their goaltenders look amazing. Nedeljkovic is horrible. Mrazek was horrible. And now Anderson, I wasn't the biggest fan of Anderson when he was here. Now he's playing incredible. That's what Carolina does for their goalies.
Colorado does the same thing. Look at Grubauer. He didn't have a great year this year in Seattle, and he won the Vezina.
Yeah.
They had a shot at what's his name, the Colorado goalie this year too, and then they laid off on that.
Kemper. They laid off on Kemper. I didn't even know him. I would have loved that.
Oh yeah. They had their opportunities.
Is it a tad over or under Kemper's making? Because they're both making $5 million, I think, but I don't know.
I think he's just over.
Just over?
I think he's just over. But I mean, this was an opportunity there to go out and take a look at bringing this guy in, right? I mean, you also want to look at the goalies in the league. The top goalies, they're huge. They're big goalies. They're 6'4". They're 220 pounds.
Vassie's 6'6".
Vassie's 6'6". Markstrom's 6'5". Kemper's 6'4". Like Ottinger in Dallas is 6'4". Like you need these big goalies, and that's why I look at Campbell and I say Campbell's not going to be the guy, because he's not your typical goalie these days. And the same thing with Shalgren. Shalgren is he's just covering the net. He has to rely more on his reflexes, which are good, but he's not going to be the guy. The game is too fast. The shots are too hard. You need a big goalie nowadays.
Yeah. My thing about Campbell is I understand that he's not the guy. I understand that now. I used to think that he was awesome just because I really liked his technical stuff. I've always said that he hugs the puck like a football. I always thought that was cool. I liked him. I understand that he's not the guy, but if I were to have my choice personally, I would rather have Campbell than these two. And the only reason I say that is because I know who Campbell is, and it's fun cheering for him because he's a good guy. I know he's not the guy we need. I know we're not going to win a cup, but if I had my choice, I'd rather cheer for a guy that I know and that I really like his personality and I want to see him win. I like cheering for him. Than cheering for two guys that I don't know that I don't like that much.
Matt Murray is a good goalie. He was a good goalie. He just has to if he regains that form, the Leafs are going to be okay.
Yeah.
But he has to regain it. He has to regain it. That's the problem. And the Leafs don't have that goaltending coach where they can, revive a guy's career. So
I think they have a new goaltending coach this year.
Yeah, but he's not the guy. When you look at
you know who he is?
Yeah, I don't remember his name though.
Okay.
But when you look at specialty coaches, whether it's a goaltending coach, power skating coach, you go to baseball, you look at pitching coaches. the Toronto Blue Jays have one of the best pitching coaches in the league. This guy takes guys who have mediocre seasons and turn them into Cy Young winners.
Yeah, Pete Walker
made
Bobby Ray, didn't he?
Absolutely. And he's doing the same thing with Bosman this year. But you look at the Leafs goaltending coach, they don't have it. They're not there. Murray, if he turns it around himself, the Leafs are going to be good. But the problem is that the Leafs don't have the defense to keep people away, which you see every freaking game other than Riley. I mean, Brody surprised me. I was very skeptical of Brody, but he had a good year last year. But beyond that, that's it.
I've always said that I think it's their left side that's the problem. I always see during the game, almost every goal that's a cross-crease goal, you'll see if the net's here, you'll see a player here defending two of their players, and then you'll see the puck go across the net, and you'll see the other team sitting there, and Hall's up here. Where, like, what? And then like that really bugs me. Like they need to. That's why I think they need better defense. But I mean, at the end of the day, about Murray, I don't really like him. I'm not thrilled that he's here. Not that I don't like him. It's just that I don't know if he's it. But at the end of the day, at game one, I'm a Leaf fan. I'm going to cheer for him no matter what. And I really hope he does. So, yeah. Samsonov, I was going to talk to you about, I was going to pick a few names out of this list I have here of all the players. And number one is Samsonov. So I can't remember. Who was the goaltender when Washington won their cup? Was Samsonov the guy?
No, that was Holtby, I think.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember.
I think that was Braden Holtby.
Was he?
I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I don't think Samsonov was there yet.
Wasn't there yet? Okay, because I
don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think he was there yet.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think of Samsonov? Like, you're just like, I know he hasn't proven himself, but do you think he might have it? Do you think he can still develop?
He can develop for sure. I mean, everybody can develop. A lot of goalies do develop late, but he's your backup. I mean, he hasn't seen full gameplay. He's the guy who gets game two of a doubleheader, back-to-back nights. He's not getting the time that you can really make an assessment on him. It's a good backup, sure, but again, look where he played.
Yeah,
he played in Washington, who just they're deadly all around. So you can't really judge a guy coming out of a team like that. But I think he's fundamentally good. He's good east to west. He's a little bit slow on his blocker side, I believe, is what I heard.
Yeah.
So if guys are picking on him, this is where again, where the Leaf defense needs to step up, and they don't have it. They got more puck moving defensemen than they have shut down, which is not good, especially in this division. You cannot have 5 puck moving defensemen and 1 shutdown guy.
Yeah. Okay. Jack Campbell, what do you think about his deal, the money he's getting? What do you think he should? Because I already know you don't. You think he's overpaid right now, right?
I would. It's tough to say
he's overpaid, but it's a little bit too much.
A little bit too much because he had a good record, but what I look at with a goalie is how many games did he steal?
Yeah.
How many games did he steal this year? And I'm going to go and say none. He didn't steal any games this year. Maybe 1 or 2 maybe 1 in the playoffs. But when you're looking at a goalie, how many games did he steal? He stole none because the Leafs scored 312 goals this year. They're second in the league, right? So I don't think that he's going to have a great year in Edmonton. Their defense is a tiny bit better, but they're not a puck control team. Well, they are a puck control team, the top 2 lines, but after that, it's kind of where Mike Smith kind of had issues. Did they overpay for him? Yeah, I think so. I think $3 million would have sufficed for a guy who hasn't really proven himself. He had 1 year. What did he win? 37, 35 games for the Leafs this year? 32?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great record, but his goals against and the save percentage, they were great until Christmas, and then they died, which tells me 2 things. It tells me he's streaky, and it tells me he got tired really quick.
Yeah.
He's not a big guy.
I mean, he's also injury prone. Very injury. I mean, it was horrible. The time that we had him, they barely played half the games that they should have.
Yep.
But I think that was also a problem. And you could say he had an injury that they didn't really check on for half the time that he was having that poor thing. But that's, again, it's like, well, that's not an excuse, because that just proves again he's injury prone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a little, I think they overpaid a little bit in Edmonton, but at least Edmonton can say they got a solidified number one now.
Yeah.
And a guy who's younger than 40. So
yeah. Patrice Bergeron, what did you think of the deal he got? He was only getting 5. I heard he took he was offered more, but he took less so that they could put more money into the team.
Yeah, he took the hometown discount for sure. I mean, as far as what I think about Bergeron. I mean, as much as I hate the Boston Bruins, Bergeron is your hockey player's hockey player. When the year they won the cup, I think it was, he had 2 broken ribs, a separated shoulder, and something in his leg, and he still played through it, and he won the cup. Like, this guy is, you put him at the age of 30, and I pick him over anybody in the league to start my team around.
Yep.
So what he did is, you don't see that often.
Yeah.
He wants to bring one more cup back to Boston. He was going to retire. Well, there was talks of him retiring, but he took the hometown discount just to put one more cup in Boston.
Yeah.
And you don't see that anymore. You don't see that anywhere in the league. Guys are jumping ship. I mean, the only other player in sports, 2 of the players I've seen in sport to do that were Tom Brady, which bugs me, and Jeff Bagwell did it back in the 90s for the Houston Astros. He took a discount so that they could sign Craig Biggio. So to see a guy do that, that's incredible. Yeah. He could have went anywhere. Any team in the league would have taken Patrice Bergeron. Any team.
Yeah, 100%. Mikheyev, what do you think about that? He's going to Vancouver for 4.7.
A little bit overpaid for a guy who hasn't scored much. He can definitely score, and I'm a huge fan of Mikheyev. Huge fan. He's one of the best skaters south of McDavid, and I do think in Vancouver, he might be playing with Pettersson, or he's going to be playing with Besser. I'm not sure yet. I think he's going to score 30 goals this year.
Well, you know what? Last season, obviously career best season by a massive amount. In only 53 games, he scored 21 goals and 11 assists for 32 points. And he had 4 shorthanded goals, 4 power play. Mm-hmm. That's, amazing.
And he had no power play time. That's the other thing. He had no power play time. But again, it's not the fault of the Leafs for not playing him. I mean, where does he play? Where does he play in that lineup?
Exactly.
You and I have talked about that before, about a bunch of good players on the Leafs and their organization that are great, but they're not going to get exposure. They're not going to get ice time, because who do you move? You can't break up that top line, and then you've got a great second line, and the guys are just performing nonstop. Your third line is phenomenal. So
and
really,
the guys,
where do you put them?
You can't put them on the third and the fourth line. It's not enough ice time for them.
No, and that's what Mikheyev played all year.
Yeah.
He played, I would say, if you got the stats in front of you, I'm going to say he played maybe 13 minutes of ice time, average.
I don't think that it shows ice time stats here. No, it doesn't.
That's what I'm going to guess. He killed penalties. He was one of the best penalty killers on the team. Him and Marner were phenomenal in that aspect. Right. And he's going to do the same thing in Vancouver. The only difference is in Vancouver, he's probably going to play on the power play a lot more. Yeah. So I think he's scoring 30, and playing out in the West, playing in this division, playing against teams like Calgary, who are open run and gun, playing against Edmonton, playing against LA, Anaheim, San Jose, he's going to eat them alive.
Oh yeah, especially without the puck. He is faster than McDavid without the puck. That's McDavid's thing. Without the puck, McDavid's the fastest player in the world with the puck on a stick, because he's the exact same speed whether or not he has it. But without the puck, Mikheyev is faster. It's just when he gets the puck, he's like all players.
Straight line, Mikheyev is the fastest skater in the league, I think. I would have loved to have seen him in the fastest skater competition.
I was saying that when the All-Star game came around, I thought they should bring him in. Like, don't make him an All-Star, but just bring him in for just that competition, because everyone was freaking out about that clip when he outskated McDavid. I think
they used to do that years ago. They used to just bring in people who can compete in a certain event. They stopped doing it though. But and again, this goes back to a lot of people who don't watch the Leafs or hate the Leafs. They don't know Mikheyev.
Yeah.
So if they're going to be watching this right now, they're going to go, "Who's this guy to talk about? This guy's not faster than McDavid." Well, yeah, he is.
He is.
And they're going to see it in Vancouver this year, and they're going to see it out west here this year because this guy, he's going to. I mean, he's not. His hands are not great.
No.
The opportunities, even in the 53 games that he played, the opportunities that he had, he should have scored 40 goals this year.
Yeah, he's no finish.
He has no finish. He has no hands, but he's got the speed to get around. But I think with him playing he's going to play top line or second line. He's going to play with. I'm thinking he's going to play with Pettersson, and to have them both and to have his size playing with Pettersson is going to, because he's a big guy too.
Yeah. I didn't pick that up. I didn't know he's that big.
Mikheyev's a big guy.
Oh, I didn't. Awesome.
He's strong on his skates.
Yeah. that's like I think Engvall is pretty speedy too. I like Mikheyev more, but I do think I was called Mikheyev, or I was called Engvall the fastest giraffe alive because he's massive. And he's super.
He's strong, but he's skinny.
Yeah. He's really like he is pure. Like if you see him, he's like pure muscle. He's not like most hockey players where like they're muscle and they're strong, but they got a bit of a gut to them, But like Engvall is pure muscle. He's ripped as hell.
He is, but his legs aren't. That's the only worrisome thing is that he can move. He's fast too. He's probably up there with Matthews as far as speed goes, but he gets tired really quick if he has to bang and crash.
Yeah.
But Engvall's not as fast as Mikheyev. There's no way.
Ben Sharat. I don't know a lot about this guy, but I remember his name being pretty big a few years ago. I think he was playing for Ottawa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Ben Sharat played in Montreal.
Okay.
Montreal and Winnipeg.
Who was I thinking of who played in?
You're thinking of Thomas Chabot.
Yes, I was. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah, Chabot is still in Ottawa. But Sharat did sign. See, Sharat is a part of the Detroit team that I'm telling you about.
Yeah.
Right. They hang on a second. There we go. They he's a great defenseman, and he's part of that team in Detroit that's going to make that team what Yzerman addressed. Right. They needed a guy to play with Seider. There you go. There's your guy.
Did they trade for him or did they sign him?
They signed him.
Ben. Yeah. Okay.
Ben Sharat. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And he's making 4.7. What do you think about that?
He's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
I think, especially on another team, maybe not. I think on another team, he's, a little overpaid. If he's playing with a team that doesn't necessarily need him in that position, but Detroit needed that. And I think for what he's going to do in Detroit, that's a fantastic deal.
Okay. Max Domi, Chicago, $3 million.
Chicago's in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I don't think they overpaid. I think Max Domi.
Just on the ice.
Domi's got a lot of issues.
Yeah. How many teams have he been on his career now? What? 5?
I think he's at 5 now. And he's only 26, 27. Yeah. Like this is, he was people, I think he was in the same draft year as Marner, if I'm not mistaken. And people were complaining because of Ty Domi being a fan favorite in Toronto. That draft year, people were a little bit upset that they, didn't take Max Domi over Mitch Marner, and now I think those people are their words.
Max Domi was picked 12th overall in 2013. He's 27.
Oh, who did the Leafs take that year?
2013.
Yeah.
Here, I'll tell you now.
Can't remember who they took in 2013.
Okay, that was McKinnon's year. So
yeah,
McKinnon, Barkov. Where's the Leafs? They picked Frederick Guthier.
Frederick Gauthier. So
okay.
They picked him late though in the first round, right?
They picked 21 overall. Yeah.
Right. So I think what the deal was there, people were complaining the Leafs didn't trade up to get Max Domi. So, but now everyone's eating their words, or because look at everything he's caused. He's a great player. He's got temperament of his dad, which any Leaf fan loves
Yeah.
because he'll fight anybody. And the Leafs don't have anybody like that. He has the capabilities of being like Taylor Hall. He can score 30, 40 goals. He can set up 40 to 50. Why he's not doing it, I have no idea. There's got to be something that's causing him to bounce around the way he is.
Yeah.
So $3 million, considering he's going to be their top line,
yeah,
it's not bad. But again, putting aside all of Chicago's issues with the team itself, on the ice, they're going to lose Kane. They're going to lose Taves.
They already lost DeBrincat, Ainstrom.
They lost them both.
Not as big of a hit, but DeBrincat, like, that's insane.
That surprised me. That really, really, really surprised me, because you're at a team like Chicago who's in the need of a rebuild. Why they let him go blows my mind.
Yeah, I mean, they could still end up getting the first overall pick with DeBrincat on your team, and then all of a sudden next year, Bedard with DeBrincat, that'd be a whole new era for Chicago. That'd be incredible.
Yeah, but they got to look at, will Bedard want to play there? With all the issues that the organization itself is going through.
Yeah.
Bedard wouldn't hold out. I don't think he'd pull a Lindros. But Chicago, because you're looking at Edmonton right now, is in discussions apparently with Chicago for Patrick Kane. So they're basically, the Oilers are basically looking at two players right now, Patrick Kane and Phil Kessel. I know, I hate that name, but they're looking at that. So, and Taves wants out. He's already made it very clear.
Yep.
So Domi is literally going to be their only guy on that team that can do anything. They've let Panarin walk. They've let DeBrincat walk. They've let Sturm walk. Now they've let Kane wants out. And I mean, really, how much are they going to get for Kane? Kane's phenomenal. I mean, he had another great year this year, but with his contract and his age, they're going to have to eat some of his contract. Edmonton's not going to give up anybody big. Maybe Puljujarvi, but that's it. But you put him in Edmonton, I wouldn't even want to be on the ice for that power play. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, that's the two teams they're looking at, Arizona and Chicago, and they're both the teams that are, I mean, it looks like Chicago's taking a lesson from Arizona, how they're dumping their players. And geez, Phil, imagine Phil in Edmonton. Imagine if I had my dreams crushed twice, having Phil play on both of my favorite teams.
I don't know what he would do in Edmonton. He's a straight line player. He wouldn't be able to play with McDavid.
He would enjoy their finest hot dogs.
Yeah, there's a lot of good hot dog places. There's one great one here in Calgary, actually. So maybe he just time with the Flames. But he's not going to play top line in Edmonton. He's not going to play second line. He's a straight line skater. He can't move. He's got a shot. And ain't nobody playing on McDavid's line who's going to do that.
No.
So I don't think that's a good deal for Kessel to go to Edmonton. But as far as Chicago goes, $3 million for Domi. They got a good deal on that. But again, it's going to come down to how he plays and his attitude.
I think Edmonton lucked out when they got Evander Kane and somehow set him straight. Same thing did not happen. Huh? Yep. The same thing I don't think happened with Duncan Keith. I don't think they set him straight, because the second he got over here, he refused to take his vaccines. He refused to abide by the rules, and he was apparently a little bit of an asshole. And then, so I don't know if they want to take another gamble on a player that isn't exactly the hardest worker and might not be the best person to surround your young stars, like the same thing. That's why I don't want people like Evander Kane or Jordan Binnington or anything like that come to the Leafs, because they might be talented, but do you want that kind of attitude in the dressing room wearing down on Marner and Matthews, right?
Well, no, and that's what you talked about once before, is that you've got such I think McDavid garners a lot more respect than Austin Matthews in the dressing room. Austin is, as far as I'm concerned, there's going to be a lot of people commenting this statement I'm going to make, but Austin Matthews is the best player in the league. But as far as respect and controlling their dressing room, I don't think anyone in the league other than Crosby is better than McDavid. And I think as soon as Kane walked in that dressing room, McDavid basically said, listen, like, if you're going to play here, You're going to play here, and you're not going to mess around. This is my team, not yours.
Yep.
I'll be the vocal one. You just put your stick on the ice, and we'll get you 30 goals.
Yeah, I hope he did that too, because I really think that he's I mean, a lot of people get mad at him because he's quiet and he doesn't speak out, but at the same time, that's because he doesn't, he's not a loud guy. He's not like that. He's not like Kane. He's not like Subban. And then you look at Matthews and you look at Willie and people in the dressing room, and you watch them coming into the game. They're wearing these hats. Their suits aren't done up. They're not wearing ties. They're wearing chains. McDavid comes in a suit like how it's supposed to be. He's not, he isn't coming there to look nice for the interview. He's coming there to play the game. And I like that. That's the one thing that I don't like about Austin Matthews, is that sometimes I feel he's a little bit too flashy, and that he's not, he doesn't respect the sport. He doesn't like the sport. He likes dressing up for the sport. He likes the money a little bit too much, which, I mean, it's fine. It's his choice. It's just something that I just don't love. And that's fine. I don't have to love everything.
2 years will be telltale sign with Austin.
Yeah.
And there's one thing I can guarantee you. I mean, I can't guarantee anything. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. But when you look at the NHL right now, if Austin Matthews leaves Toronto in 2 years, which I think he's going to, I mean, maybe he stays, I don't know, but I think he's going to leave. If he leaves, okay, so now you've had Chuck leave, you've had Matthews leave, you've had Goudreau leave. I think Cole Caulfield's going to leave Montreal. You have all these American superstars who are leaving Canadian teams. And that's fine. You want to go home, you want to play at home, especially being a Leaf fan. We can't argue that, because that's why we got Tavares.
Yeah.
So what I think you're going to start seeing, if that happens in future drafts, if you've got an American kid who's highly ranked number 1 and a Canadian or European kid who's highly ranked number 2, and the Canadian team is picking first overall, you're going to see the American player drop down, because no Canadian team is going to want to take him for 3 years and then sign him on a bridge deal for 3 years and then lose him when he's in his prime.
Yep. I 100% agree with you. That's terrifying. I mean, Dubas should be doing that already. He's in the heart of hockey. He has so many scouts right here, and he sends all of them to Europe. It's so annoying. I didn't even think Caulfield's American.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that. I like Caulfield, so that was a bit of a shock. I mean, I don't care because it's Montreal. I just like Caulfield. Same way I love Price, but I can't say.
No, they actually, I could double check that, but I'm fairly certain Cole Caulfield is American.
Yeah, I said at the beginning of last season, I said, "Oh, here's my sleeper pick for fantasy." I picked Cole Caulfield, and I said, "This kid's gonna win the Calder this year." He got dropped down to the AHL.
Yeah.
So
he's Cole Caulfield is from Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Where's the other guy? Okay, this is one that I've been holding off on. John Klingberg signing with Anaheim for $7 million.
Yeah, that's Klingberg he's very underrated. Very, very underrated. I mean, he's not up there with Yossi and Makar and Hughes, but he is definitely I would put him in the top 7 in the league.
So would he be on like Petrangelo's level?
I think he's better than Pietrangelo.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he's now playing in Anaheim. That was a weird signing, but that tells me he doesn't want the pressures.
Okay.
Or maybe he likes their team and the way they're growing.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I don't think Anaheim's going to be good for the next 5 years. But $7 million, that's kind of a discount for him. As I was expecting him to get anywhere between 8 and 9.
Okay.
He's very good defensive. Very, very. He's underrated to the point where Morgan Riley is, because nobody outside Toronto really knows how good Morgan Riley actually is.
Yeah.
And if not for Makar and Hughes and Adam Fox and Roman Yossi, I mean, we can say that with anybody, but Riley wins the Norris. Like, he wasn't even in the top 5 this year.
Yeah, not a lot of people give Riley the respect he's deserved.
No, he's very underrated.
Yeah. Here's one. Vincent Trocheck signs with New York Rangers for 5.6.
That's not a bad pickup, but I think they're expecting a lot. I think he's going to play third line, though. No, I don't think so. I think probably play the second line.
How's Ryan? Is he decent? Reinstrom?
Is he the defenseman? No.
No, he's the center.
He's the center. Oh yeah. No, in New York.
Yeah, yeah, he
No,
played
he's
for New
good.
York. He's in
Yeah,
Anaheim now for 5 million.
yeah.
Yeah,
He's not going to do anything in Anaheim. He was great in New York. He got a lot of ice time in New York, and again, he had the luxury of playing with Adam Fox behind him.
yeah.
So I mean, he's good. He's a good hockey player. I just don't think Anaheim's a good fit for him. But I think Trocheck, go back to him, he was in a good spot last year. This year, I don't think he's worth that much, but it's a good signing.
Okay. And then, okay, I'm going to ask you two more players, and then I'm going to ask you, I have a couple questions with you about the draft because I forgot to do a draft video, so I want to just add that here. Kemper and then Kopp. Kemper's making 5.2, which is, where did Campbell go? Okay, here he is. Campbell's making 5, so Kemper's making 0.25 over him. So Kemper for 5.2.
Again, I'm always weary on a goalie who comes out of a position like Colorado, because same thing with Grubauer. I told you the same thing last year.
Yeah.
With Grubauer, he's a technically sound goalie, but you're playing on a team. So when Detroit was good and they kept winning cup after cup in the 90s and the 2000s, every year they led the league in goals against, and Chris Osgood was their goalie, and people crowned Chris Osgood as one of the greatest goalies in Detroit history. No, every year he was. I think maybe once he was nominated for the Vezina, but they won the Jennings Trophy every year as a combination for the lowest goals against. The reason they did that, it's not because Detroit was a great defensive team. I mean, they were good with Lidstrom and Cronwall. I mean, they had a good defense, but Detroit's philosophy was, you're not going to score on me if I have the puck.
Yeah.
So Detroit always had the puck. Their puck possession was ridiculous. It's the same thing in Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado's puck possession is, you watch them play and they've got the puck 40 minutes a night. Like it's ridiculous how much they have the puck. And that's what happened with, and any of the shots that are coming on, whether that came on Grubauer a couple of years ago, they were outside. They were outside shots. He had a clear view. They were great. Same thing with Kemper. So how is he? We saw how Grubauer had a couple of good games in Seattle, but he was nowhere near the goalie he was in Colorado. And I think it's going to be the same thing with Kemper. Time will tell. Is he actually a good goalie, or did he just have the luxury of playing with a team like Colorado?
Yeah. Well, he's in Washington now. What do you think about that fit?
I think it's going to be tough on him because Washington is aging.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Ovi ever ages, but
no.
The rest of the team does. Carlson's getting you can see this year Carlson started to lose a step, but they do have a pretty solid defense. So, but their game is completely different than Colorado, but they are a little bit more defensive than Colorado. But I think, it could be a good fit.
Yeah. So Andrew Kopp, Detroit, 5.6. This was probably one of my favorite to see pop up, because I think he's a great goalie player. Loved him in Winnipeg. Him and what's his name? Kyle Connor were my absolute favorites in Winnipeg.
Kopp is, to me, was the best signing Detroit made.
Yeah.
He this is what I said about Steve Yzerman, right? Like, I'm just looking over Kopp here. Like, you look at what he's made in the past, look at what he's going to make now. This guy, hang on a second here. My thing's getting all wonky. So yeah, going back to what I was saying about Detroit winning the free agency, it's mainly because of signing him. I mean, they got Sharat and Perron too, but this Cooper, he was overshadowed a little bit in Winnipeg. So I think you're really going to see him, playing with Raymond and Larkin.
Yeah,
they're going to be absolutely deadly, and they are going to be a team. Are they going to make the playoffs this year? They're going to be close, but they're going to be that team where they're playing in the toughest division in hockey. But they are going to surprise a lot of people this year, and they're going to be that team who's going to spoil a lot of teams' runs. They didn't address fully, I think, their need for a center, third, fourth line center, but they're Steve Yzerman was a genius, and Pop is one of the biggest reasons I say that.
Well, I do want to make a correction right there. Winnipeg, when he was playing in Winnipeg, I liked him. He wasn't my second favorite. It was when he moved to New York is when I really saw him for the player.
Yeah.
I really liked him in New York. I thought that was brilliant. And the fact that they lost him really sucks for them. Because
they couldn't keep him.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I really liked him in New York, and I think it's really fun watching the team that New York's playing right now because I really love Shirks. I really love Panarin. It's fun cheering for Laffy, even though he's not playing very great. You know, his first overall pick, just kind of fun cheering for him. So I do like cheering for New York. So it sucks that they lost Cop, but hey, I like cheering for Detroit as well. So I'm not that mad.
Detroit's my second favorite team, so I'm very happy that that happened.
All right, so that is all the questions about free agency. So about the draft. Okay. I think Slavkowski signed his entry-level contract already. So does that mean he's going to play games or maybe do the 9-game trial or whatever it is they end up doing if they play him in the NHL? What do you think about his readiness right now? Do you think he's ready to take it on? Or
I think he's ready, but I don't think he's going to play this year.
Yeah.
I thought I heard that he's spending one more year in Europe. I think that's what I heard.
Okay.
But I think he's ready. He's absolutely ready. I told you that months ago that this kid's going to go first over. I said it was either going to be him or Logan Cooley that was going to go first overall. Mm-hmm. And I just want to point out before we keep going on about the draft that for months and months before the draft, I had told you Shane Wright's not going first overall.
Yeah, I didn't believe you.
You didn't believe me.
To be fair, I didn't watch any of them, so I didn't know how good any of them were. I just saw the draft rankings and just thought, hey, he's probably going first overall because all the scouts think he's going first overall. And then a couple weeks later, Slavkowski, Cory.
I think Shane Wright's stock was so high because Shane Wright made it that high. Yeah. Because he just literally thought he was the best player. He said it before the draft when they asked him, "Is he worried about first overall?" And he said, "No, I'm the best player in the draft. I'm going first overall."
I didn't like that one.
And he's I think Logan Cooley's a better because the thing about Shane Wright is that he's a two-way player. And I said it to you months ago that Logan Cooley is a better two-way player than Shane Wright. But I think Slavkowski, I don't think he's going to play this year. But if he does, he is ready.
Okay.
He is absolutely ready.
I do think that I did not like that when I saw that in the draft that Shane Wright was saying that he thinks he should go first overall because I remember watching the 2017 draft and I remember watching Jack Hughes when he was there and thinking this kid is so charismatic. He is such a great guy. And he's just so fun to listen to him talk. And I don't think I ever heard him say, I think at one point he said, he'd like to go first overall, but I don't remember him ever saying that he thinks he will go first overall. So I wasn't.
He deserves it.
Yeah. I didn't really like that when Shane said that, but, and of course he did stare down Montreal's table as he was walking up to Gary Bettman. He seems to have settled down now. He's doing commercials and stuff and he seems to have settled down, but, I think I love what Ron Francis said. Ron Francis did say that fourth overall is not so bad. And I think Marner also texted him and said, hey, fourth overall is not such a bad pick, buddy, that's how an NHL player is supposed to act.
Yeah. But he's also, in Seattle, which is great hockey town and a great place to be, but not a great team there. But I
alongside Benair, which is cool.
What's that?
He will play alongside Benair, which is cool. You like Benair, didn't you, when he was coming up?
Yeah, but he might not.
Yeah, what?
And he might do the same thing Laffy did. He might end up playing on the third line.
Yeah, that's true.
They might even send him back to junior. Because the thing is with Shane Wright is that he's not a great skater. He's strong on his skates, but he's not a great skater. And I don't think he's going to be able to keep up in the NHL. That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
Especially with the way the game is now, especially out in the West. I mean, he's playing and he's playing against. How do you think he's going to fare playing against McDavid? Yeah, McDavid's going to eat him up and chew him out.
Yeah. So
I don't think he's going to do it, and I don't like guys with that attitude. A few years ago when at the All-Star game when they asked Hughes, are you going to win should you win Rookie of the Year? And he said, "Of course I'm going to win. There's nobody in the league there's no other rookie in the league that even compares to me. What were Hughes' words. And then when Makar won the Rookie of the Year, I don't think I've ever been so happy. I think I was more happy to see Makar win Rookie of the Year that year than I was to see Matthews win the Hart this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I've always heard people, when like LeBron said that he would vote for himself for MVP, people are like, who name one person in the entire NHL who would say they would vote for themselves for MVP? They're hockey players like that. Exactly. But then I see like Shane Wright, I see Quinn Hughes, and I'm like, they don't have a hockey player mindset, because hockey players don't talk like that.
No, you don't. You go out there, you play the game.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing, that we're going to miss about Jack Campbell. You watch any interview with Campbell, he'll have a shutout and make 59 saves.
And talk about what he did wrong.
Or he'll talk about how great his defense was.
Yeah.
Even though he stopped 50 shots.
That's why I love cheering for him. I remember when in the first playoffs that we had him, when we faced off against Montreal, you saw the post-game interview after Game 7. You saw Austin Matthews, who was stone cold. You saw Marner, who looked like he was kind of on the bridge of shedding a tear, because you could tell he was upset, but he was holding it in because he's been here before and he knows how to control himself. And you saw Campbell, and Campbell literally looked like he was bawling and he was blaming himself. And it broke my heart, because I love that man. He's an amazing guy. And I don't think it was entirely his fault during Montreal, seeing as Marner and Matthews didn't show up at all. But, no. That's the reason I love cheering for him. But okay, so this is the last thing I'm going to ask you. I want you to tell me the top 5 picks. I just want you to tell me who you compare them to in the NHL, their style, and if you could give them their major strength, what would it be? So Slavkowski first. Who would you compare his play style to?
I compare him a lot to a mix between Solani and Laine. He's going to score a ton of goals. He's got a great shot, and he's big and he's strong. I'll think but I'm still not putting him as number 1 in the draft. I do think he's great. I still put Logan Cooley as number 1. I compare Logan Cooley as a poor man's Bergeron. He's not going to be as good as Bergeron. There's not a lot of people who are going to be as good as Bergeron, but Logan Cooley, I think, can be that game changer who can play like that.
Okay.
And Shane Wright doesn't even get in my top 5.
Okay, I mean the top 5 out of the draft, not your top 5. The top 5 of the draft. So it's
the top 5 draft picks.
Yeah, so out of the top 5 picks, I just want to know what you think of them. And maybe we'll do that too. So Slavkowski, who is he like, and then what's his biggest strength?
Well, Slavkowski, like I just said, he's a Laine mixed with Laine and Solani, kind of a mix. I think he's got a better attitude than Laine.
Say Laine or Laine? You say like Laine or Laine?
I think Patrick Laine. He's got he's got a better attitude than he's got a better attitude than Solani too. Solani had a little bit of an issue when he was in Winnipeg, but the guy was phenomenal.
His biggest strength?
His shot.
Yeah.
He's got a shot like Austin.
Awesome.
Like he's deadly. And then who went number 2? Nemec?
Nemec. Yeah, Simon Nemec.
So I haven't seen much of Nemec play. A little bit in the World Juniors, I think he played.
Yeah, probably.
But he's
Slovakia.
He was a Slovakia he played for. Yeah. Yep. So he's an interesting character watching him play, because he can move the puck, he can skate. You don't remember a Leaf named Thomas Caberlet, do you?
I do.
So he reminds me a lot of Caberlet. Where
I don't remember anything about Caberlet, but I know his name.
So Caberlet was afraid to shoot the puck. He had, I think, 75 points for the Leafs one year, and he had 5 goals, I think it was, or something like that. I can't remember what it was. Him and McCabe were just, but the fans would yell at Caberlet to shoot the puck. He had a great shot, but he would never shoot it.
Yeah.
He always looked to pass first. Now, Nemec is the same way. I don't think he's going to be that Adam Fox Makar type of defense, but he's going to be more defensively aware. I'm just trying to bring up his stats here. My phone's kind of dead on me, but he's a lot more defensively aware than Makar and Adam Fox.
I can show you stats. I can show. Here you go. His stats: Slovakia U18. Is that it? The U18?
No, go to his Nitra league or his Nitra team.
Okay, HK Nitra. Yeah, he had 1 goal and 25 assists in 39.
So he's that guy who's kind of doesn't really want to shoot the puck. I don't even think he scored a goal in the juniors last year.
I don't think he did. I just saw his stats. His
I don't
U18
think he did.
where he had 1 goal. No, last year he had 1 goal, and the year before that he had none.
Okay, so yeah, so he's he's not as big as what you'd kind of want for a guy who's not, but he can move the puck. He's defensively aware, and he's wicked smart with the puck.
Okay. Oh no, that was all this year. Never mind. Got correction for my last thing.
Okay.
I was just looking at his U18 stats for this year. Okay. Yeah. Logan Cooley to Arizona. I just want to throw out there, when I was watching the draft, I think going on Shane Wright's head when number 1 was called and he didn't go, he was probably like a little bit sad, but he was like, okay, second isn't so bad. And then when he didn't get called second, he was probably thinking, fourth isn't so bad. Please don't pick me third. So I think he was relieved after he didn't go third to Arizona.
Well, I mean, that's the thing when you're not picking. So like New Jersey doesn't need a guy like Shane Wright to begin with.
Yeah, of course.
They got too much depth as it is out there. They don't need him, and they have too many young centers as it is.
Yeah.
So they weren't looking for that, no matter what. To me, they were going with. I'm very surprised New Jersey didn't actually take.
Cooley, right?
No, they don't need a forward. They needed. Chicago took him. Koichinsky.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't take him.
Okay.
To be honest, but again, I mean, he went late. He dropped way down. Where did he go?
7th.
I'm trying to. My phone's still not loading up. So he went way down
for it.
To me, he's number 2 if I pick my top 5, he's number 2 on my list.
Yeah.
But Logan Cooley going to Arizona, horrible place for him to be. But this is why Arizona's looking at trading Checkman, is because they had him coming up. Logan Cooley, I know Checkman's a defenseman, but Logan Cooley, after his 3 years, is going to demand heavy money. This guy's he's not going to be a superstar. No one in this draft is going to be a superstar.
Okay.
Slavkowski is going to be the closest. But again, it is a draft. Anything can happen. These players can develop. They're still only 18 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, Shane Wright could develop into, he can get a reality check, which I'm sure he got at the draft.
Yeah. I think that'll be a little really good for him. I think for him, him going forth will be very good for him. Yeah.
And now when he gets to the NHL level, he's going to have NHL level coaching. He's going to have power skating. So, I mean, he has the tools. Every single player in this draft has the tools it's just a matter of putting it all together. Now, Logan Cooley, I think he's a little bit more developed than anybody else in the draft.
Yeah.
Just because of his two-way game. And like I said, he's a better two-way player than Wright is. He's not, again, but the thing with him, same thing with Wright. He's not the most powerful skater in the world. But again, they can work on that. And I think, Arizona, the wrong place for him to be, but
Arizona's the wrong place for anyone to be.
Yeah.
Who would you said you compare him to Bergeron, right?
To a poor man's Bergeron.
Yeah. What about
not
Namick?
to Bergeron?
Yeah.
Namick, I would compare him to a Thomas Kaepernick type of deal. And anybody in the league right now, someone in the league, Klingberg.
Okay. And then Shane Wright, if you were to have to say something nice about him, what do you think his biggest strength is, and who would you compare him to in the NHL?
Oh my God. I don't even want to talk about Shane Wright, but his biggest strength is his two-way game, and he's smart.
Okay.
He's wicked intelligent with the puck. But if I had to compare him to anybody in the league, maybe a Michael Backlund here in Calgary.
Okay. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I don't know who he is. And then
Michael Backlund. So Michael Backlund plays in the third line in Calgary, and he is a very solid third line shutdown center. Okay.
Cutter Gauthier, Philadelphia Flyers, 5th overall.
Cutter Gauthier.
He's a left winger.
Yeah, he's a good pick. He's what I like to call a Cy Young Award winner.
Oh yeah.
So the Cy Young Award is for best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
So a pitcher goes, 20-2, 20-3, 20-4. 20 wins, 5 losses, whatever it is, they're going to win the Cy Young. So this is the type of player he's going to be. He's going to score a lot of goals, not a lot of goals, but he's going to score goals. He's not a great playmaker. I don't think he's very intelligent with the puck. I've only watched him play. Where did I see him play?
He is Swedish, maybe.
No, he's American, actually. I think he was born in Sweden, but I don't think he's actually Swedish.
Okay.
I think he played for the U.S. development team last year.
I can check that while you're thinking. Yes. Okay, you were right. Yes, he played in the U.S.
Yeah, so he can move, but I don't think I think at most he's a 25, 30 goal scorer. And, if I'm going to compare him to somebody, we'll just talk about who we were talking about, and I'll compare him to Mikheyev. Not as fast as Mikheyev, but he'll put the puck in the net when he needs to. He'll have his opportunities. He'll create a little bit of space because he's fairly big, too. I think he's 6'2", 6'3".
6'2", yeah, 6'2". He's 6'2", not quite as big as Slavkowski, who's 6'4", but yeah, he's bigger than everyone who came before him.
Yeah, but Slavkowski's in a different he's going to be a good hockey player. Yeah, I think I would compare him to a Mikheyev. He's going to score, but he's not going to set up a lot of plays. He's just going to go. But again, it depends on who he's playing with. Who's he going to play with and fill it up? I don't think he's going to play this year. I think he might take a couple more years of development, but I don't think who's he going to play with.
Yeah.
Right. Philadelphia's got to surround him with the right type of people.
Okay, last one. I'm gonna add one. The 41st overall pick, the first goalie to be taken, 6'5", Topias Linonen. I think it's how you say it. Picked 9th overall in the second round. Do you know him, or do you have any opinion on him?
I'm trying to bring him up, but again, my phone is not. What's his last name? Linonen?
Yeah.
Leonin? Oh, Leonin.
Yeah.
I think was he Finland's goalie in the U18?
He is Finnish, yes.
Did he play in the U18 though?
I'm just checking now.
I'm trying to remember who this kid is.
In 2020 he played JYP U18. Okay, yeah. He played Finland U18 5 games. Oh, I don't actually know if. Okay, he had it doesn't have any stats there except for his goals against and save percentage. He had a 8.97 save percentage and a 2.61 goals against.
He's huge, right? He's like 6'4".
Yeah, he's 6'5".
Yeah, I think I don't know much about him. But for goalie to be going that late to the first pick, but again, goalies can develop, especially European goalies, they can come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't remember much about this kid.
Okay. Okay, now for the actual final question, and then I'll leave you alone. Who would you actually have as your top 5? Because you were talking about that earlier. I'm curious. I want to know if you were to give your top 5 for this draft, who would it be? And you know what? I'll make it one step further. You have to comply with the teams. So
with the team. So what they're needing.
What does Montreal need? What does
So Montreal then definitely would be Slavkowski for sure, because they need that guy. They need that trigger guy. I would put Korchinski number 2 ahead of Nemec for New Jersey. Arizona, Logan Cooley, can't go wrong with him. I'd put Cutter Gauthier ahead of Wright.
Yep.
And the kid that Philadelphia, the kid that Detroit took.
Yeah, Marco Kasper.
Marco Kasper, I'd put him at number 5.
Okay. And if you were to just pick whoever you just think is the best, who would you pick? Because that's what I say about Slavkowski. I would say, you know what? Shane Wright shouldn't hold his head too low, because at the same time, he's a left winger. And Shane Wright, even if it's not true, he can still say to himself, maybe I didn't get picked first because I'm not a winger. And that's what they need. So it's a different player, right? Different teams need different things. So if you were just to pick who you think is the most talented, who would you go with?
The most talented player in this draft was Slavkowski.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at longevity, because a guy like Slavkowski worries me, because he seems to have a little bit of the same mentality. I mean, he's a good kid and he's smart, but he seems to have a little bit of the same mentality as Solani and Lonnie had. So
yeah.
that would scare me a little bit. But otherwise, my top pick, if I'm looking at overall player, what are we going to get? Slavkowski's going to score a ton of goals. There's no doubt about it. But if I'm looking to build my team, personally, the way I want to build my team, I'm looking at a defensive first center in this draft, because there's no superstars in this draft. So I'm looking at who am I going to get my best value out of, and for me, it's Logan Cooley.
Okay. By the way,
but now we're going to go back to taking Americans first overall who might not want to play in a Canadian team, right? So with Montreal, you're already going to probably lose Caulfield in the next couple of years. I mean, he might sign a bridge deal, but that's it. After that, he's gone, and right in the middle of his prime. Yeah. Just like Matthews, just like Tkachuk, you're going to see these guys leaving. So I'm looking at it going, okay, well, Slavkowski, typically European players, they just want to play hockey. They just want to win. They want to be able to be on a top line. So, so you go to a guy like Logan Cooley, what mentality does he have?
I don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. That is all.
Of course, anytime.
Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure to tune into North End Sports